Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name's Phil Oldfield. I'm a client services consultant at Macro4.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sam Dix. I'm also a client service consultant here at Macro4. A couple of housekeeping points for you. Down the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A section. So if you do want to put some questions into us, please use that. And just so you know, we are recording the session.
Yeah, that's right. This is the first of 3 webinars that we have for you, all around the challenges of managing data in your legacy applications. So the following 2 webinars, the first of those is around compliance and business risk. And the final webinar of the series is increasing business efficiency, and that includes saving time and money. So look out for those 2. But today's webinar, this one you've signed up for today, is all around data security. And that's ostensibly the issues associated with having data and information stored in your legacy applications. I've got a few key issues for you, some of which you may know already, but the first of those being that older legacy applications, the security of these applications, or indeed lack of, can be a risk to your business. These legacy applications, they may not be compliant with regulations such as the GDPR, and that in itself provides or causes that security and that business risk that I mentioned just before. The legacy applications as well may be incompatible with modern security mechanisms, and I'm talking about things like MFA or multi-factor authentication there. And also, finally, patches to fix security vulnerabilities. These may not be available for your older legacy applications, or indeed, if they are available, then they may be rolled out sort of slower because they're seen as a sort of a lower priority. So, in summary, then, there's lots of reasons why you should look to get rid of those legacy applications, but you need to also remember to maintain that business continuity by providing access to the data that underpins those applications. And that's really where Macro4 come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Phil. So today we're going to be talking about how to identify those applications that are putting you at security risk, those legacy applications. The importance of data security, because data security is separate from application security itself. I'll be talking about a finance user case with one of my customers that I've been dealing with for quite a while, that we did a successful legacy application decommissioning process with. And then we'll be providing some tips around tackling the decommissioning challenge itself.
That's right. So we're going to kick off today with a quote from somebody you may have heard of called Kevin Mitnick. Now, Kevin is a self-styled and self-titled world's most famous hacker. He's written several books on the subject. But now, happy to say he's a computer security consultant. Anyway, Kevin says companies spend millions of dollars on firewalls, encryption, and secure access devices, and it's money wasted. None of these measures address the weakest link in the security chain. And we're saying that that weakest link could be your legacy applications.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. And when we think about the items you've got to consider around that application security, there's many items, and you may be talking about some of these. For example, can your legacy applications enforce the data retention policies that are required for regulatory compliance? Think about GDPR. Yes, it's 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago, which I don't know where that time's gone. But those legacy applications you've got, the security in them and the audit capabilities, was probably designed and set up many years before GDPR, as well as other compliance. So can it meet those compliance areas? In addition, can you ensure you know who has access to the application? You know, have you got full auditing about who's looking at what, who's performing what functions within the application, which is could be an issue for you. And then further, is the old security good enough? Bit of a teaser here. No, it probably won't be. You know, can it link into things like Active Directory, for example? Can you have granular security? I doubt it. Further, cloud migration. We speak with customers all the time, and you see this sort of these topics within the periodicals. Cloud migrations, moving a data center into the cloud, or moving applications into the cloud. At the end of the day, if you just move an application, the security issue that is contained within the code, all you're doing is moving that to the cloud. the security issue still exists. So cloud migration won't necessarily fix those older security issues. And then lastly, if you are on premise, what about physical security? If somebody actually got access to your server room, pulled the disk out of a server, is your data that you're storing encrypted at rest? Probably not. That sort of technology wasn't in use those number of years ago when these legacy applications were around. So some things to think about.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam. In terms of managing your data security then, excuse me, when looking for sort of more robust solutions for managing legacy application data, it's important that they provide that granular security and level of access controls, because that provides the high level of protection for that data, which could also be business information and is usually critical anyway. In terms of data privacy features, then these are the sort of things that you need to be looking at, because these help to limit the exposure to sensitive personal identifiable information, or PII, which is easier to say.
Yeah, and that's something that under GDPR, it's not just the organisation, but it's individuals that can get in trouble with the Commissioner's Office if that sort of personal and sensitive information gets out.
Absolutely. And I guess to summarise then, so without the functionality that we've just been talking about there, the security of the data and the systems themselves is compromised. So thinking about your IT landscape then, in terms of the data security, there's a number of questions that you need to be asking yourself about your legacy estate. First of those being, is your data secure in your existing applications? Because as we know, an aging system, it puts the data at risk of security threats. There are obviously a number of those that exist. Are you struggling to enforce security policies around that data? Can you provide secure access to your data in your unsupported legacy application? Possibly not. And do you want to move the data from those multiple applications to a single secure place and therefore be able to decommission that old application? I think that's where we're all trying to get to there. And that again, is Macro 4's kind of recommendation. Can you control access levels to that data? We've talked about sensitive data. Is that sensitive data being managed appropriately? And if the answer is no to any of the questions we just mentioned there, that leaves those applications, or the applications that we're dealing with, leave your organisation at risk, and potentially you can fall foul of regulations such as the GDPR.
Absolutely. So thanks, Phil. There's information around data security, which is subtly different from some of the security issues that an application may have. And hopefully that's helpful. So I'd like to now talk about a case study with one of our customers in the financial world, very large organisation in the UK banking industry. Been a long-term user of Columbus, and we've been helping them maximise the potential of their investment within Columbus itself, using it in different areas. And this particular organisation went through an acquisition of one of their competitors, and it left them with duplicate systems. They had a strategic system already that our customer had, and then the acquired company also had a similar financial system. And it was that we were concentrating on. And the company were talking about moving all of the data, and that was quite a large data migration project. And what we said to them was, well, look, it's easier to move just the previous year's financials into your financial package, and then we can decommission. And they looked at that and said, okay, talk to us more. We went through the process with them. And eventually we got to a decommissioning project. And Columbus was able to, with the data in Columbus, it was able to provide the security controls, rather, if I can put my teeth in, the security controls that the old acquired app couldn't provide because it was that much older. In addition, we were able to provide management of sensitive data, and Phil's mentioned with GDPR and personal sensitive information. So Columbus was able to provide redaction of personal sensitive data on a role-based access, information lifecycle management, and then tying in with the organization's existing security controls. So the groups that already existed were able to map into those and give access to the staff that were already there within the different departments. And as I mentioned, the redaction was able to tie into that. So different people had access to different unredacted data. And all in all, it was a great success for this organization. They were able to save money on the data migration. They were able to provide security controls around the data that they kept outside of the core application. And all in all, it led them to be able to look at legacy application decommissioning for their own internal applications.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Yeah, thanks, Sam. It's always good to get a real world example, especially with legacy application decommissioning projects. Okay, so moving on, Sam and I have talked a little bit about some of the challenges associated with managing legacy applications, but how do you tackle those challenges? Well, first off, you want to identify applications that have underpinning them static data, and that's non-live data, because those are the prime candidates for decommissioning. So some of these may be duplicate applications, and that is multiple instances of the same application that exist within the business. Some of those can be overlapping applications, and that is that they provide the same business function, but they are different applications.
Like we were just talking about, really.
Absolutely. And that in itself could lead to certain inefficiencies within the IT business. And then finally, you have any non-essential applications. And this is where you're probably looking at keeping the data, but you don't necessarily need the application itself. Okay, and once you've done that then, so consider the data. And this is the data that underpins those applications, if you remember. So does that data, does it need to be migrated? Could that data just be deleted? Is it needed any longer? And also, if it is needed, then does it need to be archived? That data, how is it currently accessed by the business and indeed other applications within the business? And also, how is it going to be used going forwards by the business? So once you've done that, make the business case to move that data to a secure repository. And that will hopefully, your secure repository, your new target repository, will be able to impose that sort of granular level access levels to the data.
Yep.
But also, and this is an important one, business users can access that data, but in a format that makes sense to them. I think, there's no good giving sort of end users SQL queries to run if they don't understand, how to do that.
Absolutely.
It's got to be appropriate to the business user themselves. Make sure that you'll be able to make sure that data conforms to those regulations, that regulatory compliance, including, as we keep mentioning, the GDPR. But also then this will allow you not to be reliant on those scarce IT skills to support and maintain those legacy applications. And that's always gives IT departments a certain headache. But all of that, all in all, should allow you to understand the costs associated with your IT landscape a lot better.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So how can we help then? We've talked about our use case. That's fair enough with one of the customers. We've given you some guidance around data security, application security, building a business case. Well, how can we at Macro4 help, especially if you're an existing customer with Columbus? Well, first of all, we have a great deal of experience, plus our Columbus technology means we can help. The Columbus solution design, in addition with tackling the challenges you've got, plus our ongoing development roadmap, means you've got a safe long-term repository for your data. And our solution includes processes that we've developed over many years with different platforms that we're decommissioning from, different applications. You name it, we can pretty much do that for you. We can help you decommission. Plus, Phil mentioned this a few moments ago, getting those multiple applications into one secure place. It's very important, and we'll be talking more about that in the last webinar about efficiencies for business processes of being able to access data in one place. There's more than one reason for that. And then a key point, really, you've got to make sure that that data is accessible to support the business process. There's no point, as Phil says, running an SQL query when the user's going to come, the customer's going to come in. It's Mr. Smith here. Can I have access to my document? Well, why am I running an SQL query for that? If the data's indexed against the business use, it helps. In addition, we can ensure your security levels are met. We can meet the data compliance, and as well as doing that, reducing business risk. It's all about business risk. Cloud migration, you can take multiple applications, put them into Columbus, move Columbus into the cloud. You're reducing the amount of risk that you're taking forward for each one of those applications into the cloud. And all in all, we can help you retire those applications, or indeed just an application, reducing your risk and saving you money.
Absolutely. Right, we've got to the stage now where we're going to dive into some of the questions. It's the Q&A section. So let's just have a look. If you just mind me for a minute, I'm just having a look here. It does look like we've had a couple of questions come in, Sam. I'm going to dive straight in. So first question here is from Shan. He says, you mentioned about decommissioning in the cloud. Could you expand further on that? Well, Sam, you've just been talking about that literally just now, so I'm going to throw that over the fence to you.
Okay, yes, Shan. So thanks for your question. Hopefully, I've just answered that, but I'll go back to my point I made earlier in the presentation, which is just think about the security issues that exist within those static application or applications. Those issues, those business and security risks are going to be moved forward into the cloud themselves. It's not going to, you're not removing that security risk. By putting that data into Columbus, then Columbus provides you with the data security and application security you need, and that's taken forward into the cloud. So hopefully that's answered your question. Whilst I've got the microphone, so to speak, Alan, thanks for your question, Alan. Thanks for joining us. We're looking at MFA solutions. So Phil, you mentioned MFA earlier. I'm glad we said that earlier. So multi-factor authentication solutions. How could we use this with Columbus? Well, Phil, you mentioned it. Can you answer that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sam. So basically Columbus can be integrated with a SAML-capable ID management solution. And what that does is that combines the security strengths of the Columbus software, of Columbus, with the ID management solution itself. And it's the ID management solution that provides the multi-factor authentication. Yeah. And then obviously, as just mentioned, you combine that with the security elements of our Columbus technology. And I hope that sort of answers that part of the question for you. Okay. There is another.
There's one more. Thanks, Louise. You've just been typing now. We can see that coming up whilst we're talking. Thank you.
Yeah, so Louise says, if we have multiple applications in Columbus, can we restrict access to who has access to each application? I think I know the answer to that one, Sam, but I'm going to hand this one to you since we played
question hot potato, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So Louise, again, great question. Thank you. We mentioned Active Directory earlier, or linking in with organizations' existing security. In this case, in our experience in the UK, Active Directory is the prime one. If you've got Active Directory groups set up for the existing application that you want to decommission, well, Columbus can link into those existing Active Directory groups and give you the same access within the data that you had before. So yeah, it's pretty much mirrored there. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I'm just checking. There's no more questions that we've seen coming in. So let's carry on, Phil.
Okay, so yeah, we are kind of getting to the sort of latter stages of the webinar for you, but I have got a number of takeaways that I'd like you to, take away with you, I suppose. So the first of those being that what you want to be doing if you're looking at decommissioning applications is identify those legacy applications that don't meet your current security requirements. That's the all-important one. And then consider how the business is using that data, but also importantly, how they want to use that data going forwards in the future. And once you've done that, make the business case to move that data to a secure solution where you can benefit from all the technologies that we've covered here. And if you're migrating to the cloud, don't move all of those static legacy applications. Migrate them into Columbus and run Columbus within your cloud instead.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Phil, for wrapping that up for us. Watch out for information on our second webinar in the series of 3, where we're looking at tackling the data challenges of legacy applications, and that's going to be around compliance and business risk, and that's going to be in February. It leaves me to say thank you very much for your attendance and your questions, your participation. Have a good rest of the day, and it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Thank you.